Today I want to talk about something that is not easy for me to talk about and was really hard for me to decide to even kind of shoot this and talk about, because it's really something that's vulnerable, and I know not everyone's going to agree with this, so sometimes it's harder to put out things that you know people are going to have differing opinions on. But like I've talked about in some of my past videos, I'm really trying to be really authentic and kind of lean into that vulnerability, because that's something that I really help people with, but it's so hard, and it's hard for me. So I think sometimes it's important for us to recognize, okay, this is a vulnerable thing, and there's fear, and I'm scared, but sometimes that means you should change and you should do something different, and sometimes that means you should lean in and go for it, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing today. This is definitely my most vulnerable video thus far. But I also know that there's so many other people that go through this, and I don't know how I would get through this if I didn't have some of the things that I have in my life and some of the things that I do to kind of help and get through this. So, and even with that, it's hard, all those things. So today I want to talk about kind of what is going on for me, and like how I'm getting through this little week of my life, and some of the tips that I have that I use for myself and that I have for you guys if you find yourself in a similar situation. So I was raised Mormon, and I no longer am, and I'm not affiliated with the church at all, and I've found my own kind of place and identity in the world that really works for me. And my family still is. So we have really different views on a lot of things, and it's taken a long time to get where we are now, but we're in a pretty good place right now. And I don't live in Utah anymore. So when I come here, sometimes things come up and it's harder, and I get triggered, and things happen, and it's really tough for me, but I have a different life and a really supportive group outside of here, so I'm able to manage pretty well. But I have a lot of friends and clients who still live here and are no longer Mormon, and they really struggle, every day with this kind of stuff. So I also know that I'm pretty privileged in being able to kind of step away from this and not have to deal with a lot of these struggles a lot of the time. But so my sister is getting married, and she's getting married in the temple. She is Mormon, and so I'm back here for the wedding. And I love my sister, I support my sister, I care about my sister, and I want to be here to support her. And it's really hard for me sometimes to attend Mormon events and be around a group of people who all think in a certain way, and it's very different from me. So I knew that there would be things coming up when I came into this space that would be difficult, but like things usually are, it's been even harder than I thought it was going to be. And I've been thinking about that. Don't mind my dog running back and forth behind this. He's having fun. And the wind, don't mind the wind. So it has been even harder than I thought it was going to be. And I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about that a lot today. Yesterday was a pretty hard day as far as kind of being triggered and met with some pretty negative comments and messages. And so I've been talking through this with some of my friends and my little support system, and I've been thinking about it. And I've been thinking, like, why is this so hard? Why do I feel so uncomfortable every time I come back into this space? And one of the things that I was thinking of is that when I come back into this place, I am all of the sudden the outsider, right? I'm the person who's crazy, who doesn't fit in, who, whatever people think about me. But I'm not a part of the group anymore, and I'm not accepted, and they think that I'm, a little weird or a little crazy or out there, or I left the fold. And so I still get met with judgment, even from people who love me and do accept me for the most part, right? I still get met with that. And that throws me off sometimes because I expect it from some people. I expect kind of negative messages, or, you know, like my grandma's still so sad that I'm not in the church anymore. And for her, she's really devastated because she thinks that I won't be with them in heaven anymore. So she's sad and she makes a lot of comments, and that's really hard. But I know I'm going to get that from her. And so I've sort of accepted that. But other people, I don't expect sometimes, or I think we've made more progress than we have. And then I get a comment, or I get met with something, and I'm like, ooh, that hurts. I guess we're not as far along as I thought we were, or I'm still, more sensitive, or kind of hurting more than I thought I was, because that kind of got to me a little bit. And so that surprises me sometimes. And I've been thinking about that a bit, because I've realized that no matter what happens, no matter how much these people love me and want to accept me and try to understand me and connect with me, they still think that I am wrong, right? Like, they still think that I'm wrong. They still think that I'm not going to be saved. They still think that they are right and I am wrong. And I think that sort of hit for me again today, because that's something that I know, right? But if that's a belief that you have, that you are right, you're on the right path, and you are saved, and someone else is not, that's going to come up in some way. That's going to come up in how you treat them. That's going to come up in how you judge them. That's going to come up in like little comments. That's always going to come up. And that's pretty true for most people, right? For most Mormons that I meet, they think that I am not saved and that they are. So there's a judgment that goes with that. And I think that's something that sort of hit for me this time, because I'm like, oh, I thought we were good. I thought this was good. And then that comes up again. I'm like, oh, there that is again. Because I am not, in your eyes, going to be saved, right? So of course that's going to impact the way you treat me. And I can understand that, and I can sort of empathize with that. But sometimes the comments, they still hurt. They still really hurt, especially because I work really hard to be accepting of different people's paths. And I have the belief that there are different paths for different people, and you don't have to be on a narrow path or fit in a certain box to find happiness and to do well and to really feel good about yourself and to be okay. I think that looks different for everybody. But then I come back into this space, and it doesn't matter how great things are going for me or how much good I've done, I still am the sinner, right? And that's crazy when I talk about it with people who aren't familiar, with Mormons, or, have not grown up in like strict religious families. That's shocking for them, because it just doesn't make sense. And it is shocking for me sometimes too, because I'm suddenly treated a totally different way when I'm the same person if I'm in Utah, or if I'm living in a different state, or I spend a lot of time in South America, and I never get any of that judgment there, and I'm really accepted and seen, and I'm just, another person who's doing the best I can, and that's accepted. And then I come back here and I get met with all kinds of just yucky stuff. So that's tough. And I have so many clients that come to me working through this stuff, and you can understand why people get angry. You can understand why people get so angry with some of the comments that they get, and just not being treated like a person who matters as much as they would if they believed in that faith, right? So that's so tough. And one of the biggest tips that I have for getting through this, and I think the biggest one that has saved me from way more breakdowns that I would have had if were the case, low battery, so I'm gonna put that on there, sorry, is finding people who get it, finding a support system. And I know there are a lot of groups out there, well, not a lot, but there are some groups that that are kind of like post-Mormon support groups, but they also have groups just for people who are making a transition and just need more support. Some therapists really also get it. I'm happy to help support you. If you don't have anyone in your life that can support you and you want to work through that, you can reach out to me as well for sure. But there are all these other options that you can find to get some support. And I'm lucky enough to have some of my best friends have gone through this same transition. So I can message them just a quick message and be like, hey, like this came up for me today, like I'm really struggling, I need some support. And they can help kind of talk me down and talk me through it and ground me and validate me and remind me that I'm not crazy. I'm just dealing with this system that doesn't quite get me and won't accept me no matter how hard I try. And that's something that's hard to bump up against, especially if you're someone like me who doesn't like confrontation and doesn't like to upset people. I really like peace and I like everyone to get along and be happy. And the fact that my existence isn't accepted is something that's like, it's kind of, I hit up against a lot. So my friends are really good at sort of talking me down from that, and they experience it as well. So they will do the same to me, reach out to me for support. And I utilized this like crazy yesterday. So I was having a really rough day and I was surprised about how rough it was. Do you guys ever feel like that? Like you think that you've worked through something and you think that you're okay and you know that something's gonna be hard, but like you got it, you're okay. And then all of a sudden all these things get triggered and it's just hard and awful and you're like, ugh, I thought this was gonna be a little easier. That's how yesterday was. And I don't know how I would have got through it as well as I did. And as well as I did was still not like, you know, pretty and great, but if I didn't have support and I didn't have people that I could reach out to that got it, and I didn't have to really even explain myself or justify anything, they just got it and they just supported me and validated that I'm okay and talked me through how to kind of get through it. That is such a powerful thing to have. And again, if you don't have that, please reach out to me because I'm more than happy to be that person for you and help you through that, because we have to support each other in this. And one of the reasons, the big reason that I decided to lean in and shoot this video was if I didn't have that support, I think I would take this more on myself. Like I think I would be more impacted negatively as far as like feeling bad about myself or letting it impact me and my worthiness. I think it would be a lot harder for me not to take some of that personally if I wasn't able to talk to people who just get it and love me and care about me and will support me through this. So my number one tip is to find people to support you and find people that get it. And if you don't have those people in your life, keep looking for them. Reach out to people like me for support. Reach out to people like me to get suggestions on groups and other people that can help them, because going through this alone is so awful, especially if you're in this situation like I am where everyone around you thinks and feels a different way than you do and they don't understand how hard it is for you to step back into this space. And I have friends also who still live here and who have kids here that spend their time, you know, with the dad that's still Mormon. So they're in like a half Mormon, half not Mormon life. And so they have to navigate that all the time. And that's, it's so hard to navigate all of this and to be constantly met with judgment and negativity and people thinking that you're not okay. So I want to talk more about this, and I probably will talk more about this, but this is kind of where I want to start, is like when you're going back in to a community or an event, like how do you get through it? So support is my number one suggestion for that. So that's necessary. I've also kind of planned things that are going to help me sort of be able to get through it when things come up. So we have a couple things coming up this week we have, the dinner and all of that stuff and the reception. But the hardest part for me, well, one of the hardest parts is going to be going to the temple for the wedding. Now, I'm not going to be able to go into the temple to see the ceremony or to see my sister get married because I'm not allowed in there, which is also hard. And the other really hard thing is that the temple is a very difficult space for me to navigate because it brings up a lot of feelings for me, and I don't want to get into like the details of any of this, and I don't want any of these videos to turn into arguments on, Mormonism or dissecting any of it. That's not what I want. I just want to help support people who choose to leave and need some support getting through it. But for me personally, going back to the temple and the temple grounds, it's not a comfortable space for me to be in. It gives me a little bit of anxiety. My friend and I were talking about how it's almost like PTSD, like bringing up like old trauma, like it's just not a comfortable space for me to be in. And for my family, that's their safe space. They feel comfortable there. They feel grounded. They feel like it's their place of connection and holiness, and that's their safe space. So then I'm also trying to navigate not offending them and not saying anything that's going to upset them, because I believe that if that works for them, that works for them, and I don't want to talk down on their safe space. But their safe space is also a traumatic place for me. So that's a really tough thing to navigate, especially when people don't get it. Some people do get it, even that are Mormon, and they can understand that and still support you in that. They can't get it fully, but there are some people who are a little more understanding of that. But the idea of going to the temple and waiting during the ceremony and waiting for all the the stuff to happen and waiting for them to come out, and I'm just out there waiting, with the kids and the other non-Mormons who can't come in, that is just not a comfortable thing for me to do. As much as I love my sister, as much as I love my family and I want to support them, it's not a safe space for me. It's a space where I feel old trauma come back. I feel judgment. I feel not accepted. It's just like it's a yucky space to be in. And so it's hard to go back into that space and be expected to be happy and cheery and supportive, and also wanting to be supportive. It's like that pull, like I love you and I want to support you, but I'm so uncomfortable and I have all of my own stuff that is brought up by being here. And it's such a yucky thing to navigate. This is probably the most times I've ever said yucky in a video, but that's just how it feels. That feeling is really, it just doesn't feel good to be back in a space that's really brought up some pain for you. So I'm prepping to go into that. I have my team, my friends, my support system on standby, so they know that I need extra love that day. They know that I'm going to be reaching out for support, and they're there to talk through it with me. My friends are also really good at sending little check-in messages or funny little pictures or memes just to keep me okay and keep me going. And I think that's such a powerful thing to have when you go back into spaces that are tough, or you have to get through something that could possibly be triggering. You need a little more love and support. So having your friends and your team and a group can do that for you as well. To do that is so powerful. So I have that ready. I also have plans to meet up with friends after and that weekend, so I can process anything that's come up and talk through it and step back into a space where I can be fully, authentically myself and be loved. So that's planned. So I have it all kind of planned and lined up, so I know that that's coming, so I can get through and support and be there and do everything I can to be supportive, and also know that I have a space where I will be understood right after that. Just like with any kind of hard thing, I also sort of prep and make sure like I have music on my phone and little affirmations and quotes that I can lean on if I just need a quick like little, I need to reset a little bit. I can go to my phone and have that really easily. Just flies. I make sure my meditation is on point, so I'm a little bit more grounded. So when I go into those spaces, my nervous system is a little bit more calm and I'm okay. I have my quick little, 5-minute meditations ready if I need to step away and do that. It's also really like these are the times that meditation is also hard for me. Like I struggle with doing it, even though I know I need to do it and it makes me feel so much better. It's harder to do that, so I have to make sure I do that and also give myself permission to just do it, for a couple minutes, and that's okay. So I have that ready, and then just making sure that you're taking care of yourself and giving yourself a little, extra love and support. Other things that I thought of was like doing something fun the next day, doing something that was like, just for me that I can look forward to, just little things like that. So you can get through it and know that even if things come up, and I hope that it goes well and not a lot comes up, but even if things come up, you know that you have things around you can reach to in the moment that will help, and it won't last forever. It's just a couple days, and when those days are over, you can go back to your loving support system and be okay. So those are all things that I have ready and waiting and kind of there to support me and to get through that. But yeah, I would really be interested in hearing, kind of your thoughts on this. If you've struggled with this, if you have any questions or any topics that you think would be helpful for me to talk through. And again, this is for people who are in this situation. It's not meant to be offensive to anyone who's not at all. And obviously this kind of stuff, this doesn't mean that we don't love and support our family. Just like my friends who have kids and family that are still Mormon, and I have my family. We love them. I love them. We want to support them. And it's hard to navigate when your lives and your values and your religion has gone different ways. So I think that's all that I'll say on that for now. Reach out to me, please, if you're struggling with this, or if you have any ideas for us to continue these conversations. And let's just keep supporting each other and loving each other and getting through the hard pieces of life as best as we can.